the Rex? Like,
I think, I no, but I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I imagine they're all, he said he worked with all of it, so I'm assuming,
Yeah.
I'm sure he usually is okay about it, so.
Good to know what that means.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of my point.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning, Stu.
There we go. Can you see me okay?
Yeah, we sure can.
And hear me okay? Okay, great.
Materials by email?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you receive the materials by email?
I do have the material, yes.
Okay, yeah, sorry, I had to break it up. They were too big to be sent all in one email.
Okay. It's kind of echoey, but as long as you can hear me.
Yeah, you sound clear to us.
Okay.
Hold on, let me fix this too.
Are we just waiting for the assessor now?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Morning, Ayrton.
4 minutes.
Alright, how are you?
Morning. Morning, Kent. Morning, Gisela.
Good morning.
You're not gonna start without you? No. I always seem to turn it the wrong way. The first time I went in there, I had that scarf thing, and I was in a hurry, right? And I took it off and I threw it in the sink, and the water started flowing. Now the other laptop I have.
See if you lost.
Swirly to death. So, Stu,
Yes.
Visa has just sent us a message. The highlighted portion is use of cell phones is not permitted except by approval by the chair. So I'll just, the bit before it, because the assessor has access to their drive to the computer, it's only fair the applicant should be afforded the same opportunity. However, common sense should prevail. So
I'm sorry, but I just heard blah, 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 blah. It's quite echoey in there.
You know, because I'm away from the microphones. Can you hear me okay right now?
I can hear you kind of, but it's really echoey. I guess it's my iPad.
Maybe. I've turned the volume down on mine. Can you guys just like do some test?
Test. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Hi, test.
I can hear you too, Kent.
Okay.
Perfect.
Sorry, Kara, it's just,
No, that's okay. If I come closer to the microphone, is that better?
that's perfect.
Okay, so that's all it is then. Basically, the gist is cell phones are still not permitted. However,
Right.
the assessors have access to their computers. It's tolerated, I guess, just with common sense, right? Anything that they're using their phones for should be presented electron or like at the hearing as well. So
Right. Right. Although that's not really the case for the assessor, though, is it?
no, I feel like this particular aspect of hearings still needs to be fine-tuned.
Right.
But basically, the gist is they're still not permitted, except for the discretion of the chair can allow it to go on. Okay?
Yeah. Because I actually think, and obviously we'll have to discuss it, but I actually think that the applicant should be able to bring in their laptop.
I agree.
So we'll just have to see what Mark says, and Mark and I guess Visa would be part two because it's administration. So we'll see. Do we know where Merrick is?
No, I just went looking for him. I didn't see him anywhere.
So
I can try giving him a call. I don't know. Maybe he lost track of time.
maybe, you know, all of us you can too, if you like.
Yeah.
He did think it was in the afternoon.
Oh, really?
We had literally 4 emails back and forth because he said this to me yesterday. It's like, here are the briefs for Tuesday afternoon. And I was like, oh, they're Michelle's. Michelle's hearing this afternoon. And then I started preparing and I was like, oh, no, Merrick is the assessor in my hearing. I was like, oh, did you leave your subject as Tuesday afternoon for a joke? Like just to try to confuse me?
He thought it was at 1. He says it'll be about 10 minutes. I thought it was at 1 too, but I didn't make a mistake.
You know what's brutal? Because did I turn them on? No, I didn't.
Sorry. So Merrick thought it was this afternoon?
Yes, he says he's just gonna be a few minutes and gather his things and come over. Can you hear me all right?
Even though I sent him an email yesterday afternoon at 12:15. In the morning. It is my hearing, in the morning.
Yeah, I think he's got a lot on his mind, to his credit.
Well, I guess.
The opportunity to get married, but this one I have to respect.
I'm looking at more than me.
Yeah, I think so. It's just that,
No worries.
How hard would it be for you to send me those briefs so I can look at them now? Just
Can I send you your email address?
yeah, absolutely.
Sure. docs.
Yes. AYR, make sure. Thanks.
And then Collier's MB.
No, .com. It used to be MB. Yeah, I got it.
I am so sorry.
That's okay.
So fundamentally sorry. All my other hearings were 1 o'clock.
No worries, it's giving me some time to get it started.
Let's get to read your briefs.
So I have some issues.
You feel very much on top of these things.
On the COVID.
No.
You would have got away with it if you blamed it on COVID, I guess.
What's that?
You would have been able to blame it on COVID. Okay, fine.
Well, you know, it's
So Eric, I emailed with the Collier's briefs.
okay.
Well, a minute to get,
No.
I don't think we're gonna need any of them.
I think it's going to be a pretty easy day, actually.
The only one I was wondering is Adelaide. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, are we good to go?
Just a couple more moments, please.
I need to set up, Stu. Sorry, but it won't be very long.
Are you related to Bruce Hewin?
Ah,
Are you? Oh, okay. I used to work.
Kara, how do
with
I
him
get the remote
years
again?
ago.
Is it just remote desktop?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was
Yeah,
one of
just
his
double
first
checking.
jobs.
Oh,
In area.
wow, I think I'm already there.
I don't remember you every
And,
time.
people just entering the workforce. I know that you left the province and went to workers' compensation. Yes. After that.
You know what, Kara? I think I'm gonna go get my headphones and see if that makes a difference.
Okay.
Western Canada. Oh, is that right?
I'll say our.
Okay, Stu.
Okay, I will call the meeting to order. I'd like to begin by acknowledging we're in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. As directed by Manitoba Health, we're requesting people avoid close contact, that being within 2 meters, with anyone showing symptoms of a respiratory illness such as coughing or sneezing. If you're experiencing flu-like symptoms, we're requesting you excuse yourself from the room. I'll introduce the members of the panel today. It's Ms. Gisela Rempel and Mr. Kent Seelin. My name is Stu McPherson. I'll be chairing the hearing. The secretary for today's hearing is Ms. Kara Belshaw, and representing the City of Winnipeg Assessment Taxation Department is Mr. Merrick Froelich. We're going to be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which the revision is requested have been described in each application and will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony. Anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Please be advised comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The board is appointed annually by council and it's independent of it and the city administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I'll confirm the matters to be addressed with the applicant following the swearing in, and then we'll have the assessor's testimony followed by questions the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they so wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You'll receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. Just as information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Use of cell phones is not permitted except by the approval of the chair. So if you do have a cell phone, please put that on silent as well. I'll have you swear the parties in, please.
Mr. Assessor, please state your name.
Merrick Froelich.
Do you affirm the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
That is correct.
Your applicant, please state your name.
Ayrton Neufeld.
Do you affirm the evidence you present today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Neufeld. You're here representing the owners of 9 business premises today, and it's the amount of the assessed value that we're dealing with only?
Yes.
Correct? Okay. Thank you. Everyone has a copy of the agenda, so of the docket itself. Hopefully it starts with 1505 Dugald and runs down through 521 Jarvis. Is that correct?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So we will just hear them in the order that they appear on the agenda then. So the first property we will hear is 1505 Dugald. So when you're ready, Mr. Assessor, we'll hear your evidence, please.
Yep. File number is 195871. Business ID number is 54465. The original ARV value was 62520. Using an area of 6917 per square feet with an overall ARV of 904. I'd like to make a recommendation to reduce the value to match the 2020 board decision of $57,780, which is a combination, which includes the occupancy costs of $16,947. Our original rent was $659, and if you look on the back page, you'll see the breakdown of where the original rent was $6.59, and the new blended rate is $5.90.
So your recommendation is to reduce to 57,780, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Neufeld, questions or concerns?
No, we're accepting the recommendation, and I'll just state that it appears that we are accepting all the recommendations today. I will go through it as they come, because I don't have the paper copy. I think we have all these resolved.
Okay, any questions or concerns, Ms. Rempel?
No, I'm fine with that, thank you.
Mr. Seelan?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And I have no questions. So, Mr. Ayrton, you're not going to present anything further then? You're in agreement with the revised value of 57,780, is that correct?
Yes,
Thank you. Okay, the next one we'll deal with is 1665 Dugald. When you're ready, Mr. Assessor.
File number is 195735. Business ID number is 53253. In this situation, the original ARV was 45,060, utilizing 5649 square feet, and an overall blended rental value of 798, including occupancy costs. There's two different premise areas for this property. One is 3224, the other one is 2425, with a base ARV of 20,434 and 10,888. Our occupancy costs are 78.99 and 59.41, and which would break up the total value of 45,060. We would like to reduce the value to 42,960 using a blended rate of $5.16. If you look at the back page, shows the breakdown of it, and the overall value is 42,960, and that concludes the final presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, questions or concerns?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rempel, questions or concerns? Mr. Seelan?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So you're in agreement, Mr. Neufeld, and you won't be making a further presentation, correct?
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That'll bring us to 889 Wall. When you're ready, Mr. Assessor.
And just bear with me here for 1 sec. I just want to make sure I don't talk more than I have to for this property. Because I put a lot more stuff in my files than I sent you guys, so I don't know overextend. Or I'm not going to worry when to stop talking. It's only 4 pages. Awesome. Thank you. File number is 195810. Address is 889 Wall Street. Business ID number is 26846. The total ARV value is 49,620, utilizing 5670 square feet. And the total ARV rent per square foot is $875, including occupancy costs. So the premise area is 5670. The original base ARV was $6.64, utilizing heat, electricity, and water for total occupancy costs of $11,964 to come up with the value. This is an owner-occupied building, but there is a book rent in place of $9 for this property. That's been stated here. And you can see how long the rent is. As the assessor for the city of Winnipeg, we respect the decisions from the board and are respecting the decision from the board today to reduce the value to $39,480. But as an assessor and as a person who's trying to be fair and equitable to all taxpayers of the city of Winnipeg, I had issues with this recommendation today, and I just want to show some of the reasoning behind the issues on this recommendation. So if you look at the next page, we do a cap rate analysis of properties and we look at other sales properties. So when we, all incomes, our valuation approach to realty is based on the income approach. But then also we also look at the sales history of this property. So what I've done here, and this is a part of the cap rate study that we've done for 2022. So if we look at the original value for this property in 2020, so what I'm going to do here is we're looking at the subject property. If you look at the table below, you'll see the subject property of 13,011.91.3500. Our original value was $580,000 for this property, using a rent of $6.91. And what's interesting is even though this is a realty value for it and the rent that we've carried over is through that, the board made a cut for this property to $4.85 rent, utilizing $360,000. We made a recommendation to the board to cut it to a rent of $575 to $479. Collier's initial value for this property was $300,000 that they presented at the board initially, and then they revised it to $327. So if we compare our original assessed value of $73.59 and the original Collier's value of $38.06 a square foot. Okay, so that's a pretty huge discrepancy in the valuation property. And then what the board decided to value, the board cut it to $45.67. So what I did, because during my cap rate analysis for the 22 assessment, I'm looking at all the sales that have taken place for properties that are Aaron and Wall that are very similar to the subject property. So we have a range here. So if we look at the properties, because the West End, what's interesting, or one of the arguments made for these properties is at the West End is that, they're not investment grade properties. However, just because they're not investment grade properties, there's not a marketplace for these properties. There's not a demand for people to rent properties in this value. So we have effective years from 1946 to 1979. All the wall heights are less than 16 feet. And the majority of the properties are similar to the site size for the subject property. I got two higher ones that are 25,000 and 18,000. And as you can see by the gross sizes, of the site size and the gross size per square foot, we're within range. Land to building ratios are pretty much very close to the subject property, minus the one on 1530 wall. And you got the sale prices ranging from 238 to 765. Then when we look at this price, and this is the price per square foot, we're showing a range of $50.15 all the way up to $124. So, and I realize when you do the direct sales comparison approach to these, there's always adjustments to be made. There's some positive features, there's some negative features. You do adjustments for this. But when you see that and you see the information provided, our original value of $73.59 seems to be within the range of the properties. It seems to be quite reasonable in our approach. When we go to hearings, we present our case. The board presents their case on the best information that they have, which is fine, and we accept the decision that ends up taking place. But what I have issues with, and this affects us at the municipal board level as well, is what I've done is I've put the 2018, 2016, 2014, and 2012 value. We all know that the prices of real estate haven't gone down in Winnipeg since April 1st, 2010. But the decision that took place on the hearing date for 2020 is almost identical to the value on April 1st, 2010 of 359. So we had made a rec to the property, like my colleague had made a rec to the property, I believe, at 479, which would have been a slight increase from the cut from 457, right? So if you look at the 2018 model value, we were at 508, they cut it to 457. 2016, because it gets appealed every year, 2016, we made a recommendation of 446, cut to 407. 2014, 402, it was actually confirmed a 54-1 at the hearing. It and there's no municipal board appeal for this property. And then in 2012, our value was 406 and it was cut to 359. The reason why this is a huge issue for the department is that when these properties get appealed at the municipal board level, we always want to be fair and equitable to all the taxpayers of the city of Winnipeg. So what happens is when there's a cut like this, there's a huge inequity that ends up taking place because the new baseline has been set at 360. So moving forward, we didn't take this to the municipal board because it wouldn't be in the taxpayers' best interest for quite this property. Because when you're going to a municipal board for this type of property, you're probably looking at least maybe 6 weeks worth of work because it's a lot of time and effort to create a municipal board brief. So we didn't dispute this. We didn't take it to the next level. But in the same regards, when the department comes in for 2022, minus under normal circumstances, we don't know what's going to happen with the COVID and how the marketplace has been affected by this. So I'm very mindful of that decision. But the point is, we're going to present the value, say if it goes up by 10%, say if it's 560, we're going to be coming here saying, how could you go from 560 to 360? You know what I mean? 200 grand. We're not being unreasonable, but these are the things that happen. And the reason why I bring this up is because I have a similar situation with another property that's on a municipal board for 130 Lawson. There was a certificate agreement signed in 2012 for this property, which was signed at $6.7 million. Then all of a sudden, the next year, the board cut the decision to $6 million. And then subsequently, there have been increases that have gone up. But the point is, our marketplace hasn't gone down. And there is some unique situations that are there, but overall, when we're looking at buildings, we're looking at the bricks and mortar. So, but that being said, I just want to, on the page 3, I'm just showing the board decision that had taken place. That was 2 pages and where the value was cut. So I'm moving forward with the recommendation because I know a lot of times what occurs is my recommendation is $39,480. But I also know that applicants in the past, if they don't get a decision that they don't like at the realty level, they'll fight it at the BA level. So I just wanted to share the information and the history behind us. So my recommendation is for $39,480. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, questions or concerns?
Comment that the value of 360 that was applied for 2020 is in line with the values that Colliers has been presenting on this property since 2012. We were much more satisfied with 20. The previous ones weren't appealed for the same reasons that the city hasn't appealed this one. It just didn't seem worth our time. And I will also mention that the market value doesn't really concern itself with the way that the city creates assessments. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rumpel, questions or concerns?
No, I appreciate the explanation. Thank you.
Mr. Seaman?
Just a question. Of course, this is the actual ARV.
The original ARV for this property is 49,620. Oh, okay, pardon me, 49,620, and the recommendation is 39,480.
Okay.
Oh, you know what? And I apologize for that. I gave you inconsistent information. That's my fault. I'm sorry.
No problems. What's the actual principal ARV?
You know what? In this circumstance, so the original. Bear with me for a second. So the question is what was the original rent?
Actually, if you use it to the ARV, first reflect.
Was just bear with me for a sec here. Because sometimes, bear with me. So the original ARV would have been $6.64. $6.64 plus the occupancy cost of 60 cents, $1.26 and 25 cents.
And what have you reduced it to?
And what I reduced it to is, bear with me here. $6.96. There's $6.97. No, $6.96.
696 includes occupancy costs, Mr. Assessor? Okay. Anything further, Mr. Siegel?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Well, Mr. Assessor, appreciate you going through your presentation, and I gave you a lot of latitude. I'm not sure how that falls in with your recommendation for business assessment for this particular property, but I do appreciate what you're saying, and although that it might be of some interest, I'm not sure what value the board can take from it without seeing what evidence was presented at these different hearings to come up with these particular numbers. I also look at your sale number 2 and 3 of the same property, and in 5 years, it's more than tripled in value. Is that something normal that you found in your sales verification process?
It's all about supply and demand, right? And so for whatever reasons that took place, is that for those 2 sales that have taken place, and like even in our analysis that we go through. So when I did my demonstration report, we do land sales analysis, right, where we do paired sales to come up with factors, right? So what I'm saying here is the argument is oh, this is the West End, this is a shitty area, pardon me, this is an inappropriate area, it doesn't have value, it's not an investment grade. Well, the argument that we make from our perspective is just because it's at a lower price point doesn't mean that there's no value for demand for it. And even from a residential perspective, when we look at the average house of an increase, say if the average house in the marketplace for the 2020 in residential, and it ranged from 2% to 6% within the city of Winnipeg on a residential perspective, right? But what ends up happening is for the prices that were at the higher end of the scale, those prices are pretty flat because there's not the demand for it. Meanwhile, homes that are selling for under $300,000, their inflationary factor would be a lot higher because there's more demand and people want to get into the marketplace. So for whatever reason, yeah, it does seem to be a bit of an outlier. And I didn't present a value of $124 per square foot. What I'm saying is our original value was $73.59, and my other sales seem to be in the case with that. And the important thing to consider here is when we discuss about the market evaluation done by the applicant. You know, how can you in this marketplace? Because if you look at the Johnson report and you look at all the reports that are done by that are in the marketplace, there hasn't been a reduction in value of 20% for properties. Nothing shows me that. So I understand the applicant is there representing their interest and the interest of the client, and I appreciate that. But I also represent the 230,000 taxpayers in the city of Winnipeg who own properties. And that's why so even though, and I appreciate the fact that you allowed me to present the information here, we're always trying to be fair and equitable to everyone. And I did this analysis for my own benefit as well, and for also the benefit of the board. So thank you. Okay, thank you. I guess that begs the question, Mr. Neufeld, are you in agreement with a recommendation of $39,480?
We are. I will just add a comment based on what was just said. I want to caution the board that comparing residential and commercial properties is extremely dangerous and misleading. And all you really have to do to get an idea of that is look at the past 3 months. Residential sale prices are skyrocketing. I had 20 showings in my house in the last weekend in River Heights, whereas in commercial property, nobody's paying their rent. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm trying to find the next one, which is 1546 Wall, but oh, there we go. Sorry, it wasn't in a PDF. Okay, 1546 Wall, when you're ready, Mr. Assessor. We'll hear from you, please.
File number is 195861. Business ID number is 38578. Original ARV was 61,800, using 6560 square feet. Overall rent per square foot is $9.42. The original ARV was, our base rent was $5.80. Utilizing heat, electricity, water, and air conditioning costs, total occupancy costs is $14,807. And then the recommended value for this property that I'll be recommending today, based on the 2024 decision, and a reduction of area on the property, is $52,860. So if we go 52,000, 860. The new rental value is $8.06 rounded. That concludes my formal presentation.
Thank you. But could you just clarify, did you say that it was based on an adjusted area as well?
Yeah.
But do you not show the total area 6560 originally, and what you've calculated here is also 6560?
We already made adjustments into the system. So what happens is you're not going to see it on the BA. The original square foot area that we had here was 8,200 square feet.
Okay.
That was for the realty. And then once we do the adjustments in our system, it's not going to be showing up on the BA. So
okay.
The new area.
So the original area was greater than what your recommendation is.
Because there was a second floor space that was not usable or rentable. It added no value to the building.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm kind of jumped out of turn there. Mr. Neufeld, questions or concerns?
All right.
Is that correct, Mr. Neufeld?
Yeah, that's
okay.
I'm just trying to find it, but I do remember there was a square footage change. I'll trust you on the amounts, so that's fine.
I want to be true to the process.
So you're in agreement with that recommendation then, Mr. Neufeld?
Sorry about that. Yes, we are in agreement with 52,860. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions or concerns, Ms. Rebel?
No, none from.
Mr. Seelan?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Oops. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the next one. Next, we'll deal with 85 Adelaide. When you're ready, Mr. Assessor.
Yep, just bear with me for a second. File number is 195839. 85 Adelaide. Business ID number is 17536. Original ARV was 57,840. Utilizing an area of 12,310 square feet. And the overall ARV per square foot is $4.70. Our model rent for the hearing was $2.28. And what we've done is my recommendation for this property from the 12,310 square feet is the base ARV is 19,450, utilizing an ARV of $1.58. Occupancy costs are 12,310. The areas are $12.03 square feet. And you can see the heat, electricity, and water for total occupancy costs of $25,974. And my ARV value is $45,420. What we have here is with these properties, downtown old warehouses are quite the challenge when it comes to the valuation process. You'll have a range for these flex warehouses, or like, because they're very similar in some regards to what these. the quality of the space is actually pretty nice inside of here, but they're distinctive buildings for valuation. What I've done here is I've just showed the board order that had taken place, where there was a reduction of from the value from 1,522,000 to 914, and it was based on the applicant's evidence. And then what happens here is the original rent was $1.85 on the brief, but there was some other information that had taken place there. So I am comfortable with the cut of 45,420. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, questions or concerns?
No, it appears to me as though it's meant to say 185, but I shouldn't have said that because it means that I want higher. But we are happy with that recommendation. I think we just might have put it in that.
You know what?
Because it'd be such a
you know what? And that could be the case as well. Let me just do the math here, Ayrton, okay?
Our calculation was a bit higher, but very comfortable with this lower one.
Well, then we'll go with your value, Mr. You told me what I'm fair with the taxpayer.
I didn't say that, but I do want to be fair.
227. You know, I'd like to make a recommended value, please. Just bear with me here for a sec. Based on adjustment of the new information. The new value is 48,780. Mr. Neufeld? Yeah, my recommendation is 48,780. Yeah, it's, I did all these briefs on Friday. So that's under the gun.
Mr. Neufeld, you're in agreement with the value of 48,780?
Yes, that is the number we were presented, yes.
Thank you, Ayrton, for sharing that.
Thank you for your forthrightness there. Ms. Rempel, questions or concerns?
No, I'm fine with that, thank you.
Mr. Seelan, questions or concerns?
Just with that value, what is your adjusted overall ARV per square foot?
So the adjusted ARV per square foot, it would have been the $1.85 that is plus the occupancy costs.
That's the overall.
The overall, so the 185
The occupancy costs are
or 230.
low. No, because there's heat on all of it, and there's not AC on most of it, and there's not electricity. Like occupancy costs are a little over.
Or so 20.
Your occupancy costs are right, but it's not. You can't just use a per square foot to do it.
$4.21.
$4.21?
Yeah.
Thank you. That's all. Questions, Mr. Chair?
Oh, sorry, that comment was incorrect. You're right. That it's just no AC. But yeah, forget what I just said.
Anything further, Mr. Seelan?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So let's move on to 901 Gateway.
43 Burnett.
Sorry?
43 Burnett.
There's one before Gateway. Number 9.
Yeah, sorry. I'll see if I can find that one. Okay, 43 Burnett. Thank you, Ms. Rumble. When you're ready, Mr. Assessor.
File number is 195823. Business ID number is 40346. Original ARV was 57,720, utilizing 7679 a square foot. And overall ARV was $7.52 per square foot. The base ARV for the recommendation is $4.50. That was already changed in the system. Utilizing our occupancy costs of heat, electricity, and water, total occupancy costs are $16,203 to come up with a value of $50,760. I've included some pictures here, and if I will just add up the rent here. The total rent is $6.61. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, questions or concerns?
We are in agreement, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rempel, questions or concerns?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Seelan?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll deal with 901 Gateway.
File number is 195779. Ayrton, or okay, I'll just go through the process.
We're confirming this. Sorry, if that's what you were about to ask.
Yep, exactly.
We are confirming this property.
But I think I still need to go through the procedure. Is that correct, Mr. Chairperson?
Yes, please give us the evidence that you're asking for confirmation.
I went through everything, so I apologize. File number is 195779. The address is 901 Gateway. Business ID number is 52183. Total ARV is 56,760, utilizing an area of 3848. And overall square footage is $14.75, including occupancy costs. Including heat, electrical, and water, total occupancy cost is $9.428. The base ARV for this property is $47,330 to come up with a value of $56,760. And we're asking for the value to be confirmed because this is a new building, and they just made a slight cut to the cap rate, and that is why I'm asking for the value to be confirmed at $56,760. As you can see on page 2, the board order said that they used our income and made a slight cut to the cap rate. And I included pictures for the building at 901 Gateway. Thank you very much. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Questions or concerns, Mr. Neufeld?
No, thank you. Just that, or sorry, I guess yes. Just that our briefs have the original value that was presented at the realty, but if you could just disregard or destroy them, I'm not sure, but because we will just be asking for confirmation. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rempel, questions or concerns?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Mr. Seelan?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Just clarification, Mr. Assessor, it really isn't a slight cut to the cap rate, it's a slight bump, is it not?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah,
Just
thank you.
yeah. The value goes down, we always say cut.
I have the same habit, actually.
Okay.
Can you copy this one?
30, no.
No.
But it,
Do you want to make a copy? Okay.
I have an email. It's my phone.
Okay, you have an email? Okay, great.
Yeah.
So Thank you.
Oh, no, I do have it, sorry.
You have it?
I guess you did get it.
Okay.
I don't know, this is last year. Never mind. I don't have it.
Okay, let's move on then. 30 Stapleton.
File number is 195828. Business ID number is 32389. Total ARV was 53,160, utilizing 6,000 square feet with an overall ARV of $8.86. Base RV was 40,500, using $6.75. Heat, electrical, and water, and made the occupancy cost $12,660, which showed the original 53,160 square foot. What we've done is we're matching the 2020 Realty decision, and my recommendation is for 46,140. Which makes the blended rate $7.69. I think I forgot a zero, but I think $7.69. Yep, that is correct. Thank you. Once again, my recommendation is for 46,140.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, questions, concerns?
We're accepting that. If I could just, can I just quickly look at your brief? Just the way I actually don't have it on email.
No problem. Well, it's just no problem. It's just the number there.
Yeah, no, this was the one I was confused about because it was changed online already.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rumpel, questions or concerns?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Seelan?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That should bring us to our last property on the docket, which is 521 Jarvis. I can find that. Okay, whenever you're ready, Mr. Sesser.
Yeah, for sure. File number is 195856. Business ID number is 50158. Utilizing an area of 5662. Original, the base salary, the base ARV is 29,726, utilizing $5.25. Area is 5662. There's no occupancy cost for air conditioning. And so what we have here is we have total occupancy costs of 11,947 with a total ARV of 41,700. We're asking for the value to be confirmed because the changes have already been made into the system. So if I look at the original rent that we had for this property, was $6.31. And we had cut it to $5.25. And I'm reading off the 2020 Realty recommendation because there's a 51 for this property. So I have the paperwork here, but I didn't include it in my brief. And so because the paperwork's already been done, the 51 for this property for the Realty was done on August 8th, 2019, which is why all the changes are in the system. And actually, if we look at the application menu, the original assessed value was 41,900. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Neufeld, questions?
No, I don't have this brief though. That wasn't in the email.
You know what?
We're not, it is correct. It was changed before this was actually appealed. We don't get a chance to review these in November during the Realty appeal season.
It is there.
It ends at 9.
You just gotta scroll down.
Yeah, I have 9 attachments only.
Oh, that's weird. It's -.
Well, if there's 9 attachments, there's 12 on the docket.
Yeah. Oh, but it ends with, okay. They're not, I can't see the names of them, so hold on. I see what I did now. There's Altus up there. Okay, but okay. I just wanna just see it first, just to be 100%, just because I know this one's a little unusual being changed before.
I could share a copy.
Oh, yeah, okay, I just pulled it up, that's fine, thanks, Mary.
Okay.
Okay, no, thank you.
So you're asking for confirmation as well, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Ms. Ruppel, questions or concerns?
No questions.
Thank you, Mr. Seelan.
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I have no questions either. Any desire for a summation of today's properties, Mr. Assessor?
Yeah, I would just like to thank the chairperson for allowing me to share that extended information on 889 Wall Street, and to apologize to all the people at the hearing today that I was slightly late, so I'm sorry.
Thank you for that. Mr. Neufeld, desire for summation?
No, thank you, that's quite all right.
Okay, thank you very much for your presentations today. The orders will be out in due course, and I will call the hearing to a close.
Want to just print out a copy of this one, or did you?